So now it's recording, and I'll also see if so the attendees, whether they come or don't come, or if you come, you don't worry about them. Let's start at at 1:30 sharp, and then just go ahead with the with your flow. Um, just see if I can do something here. So normally, I mean, it's normally our the webinar is like 45 minutes, but it's all right if in case you want to finish early because it's a Sunday, and it's a very nice afternoon at the same time. So my point is, like, don't worry too much in case about the time. If I see you exceeding somewhere, I will definitely mind you about it. So another 30 seconds to go, and then we can start then. People are joining in from various places. Okay, so now it's time. Hi everyone, those who have joined, we are very grateful that you have joined. This is another webinar from UXArmy. Today we have Chinmay. Chinmay actually is a user researcher, and he has led people in his user research career. And Chinmay lives in Pune in India, and he has done research interesting fields like agricultural tech, and he is doing other research right now at other companies. He has also, let's say, joined a number of companies, and he has a specialty that I found about Chinmay is that he has a very interesting career. He was a sportsman full time, and then he switched his career from sportsmanship completely to being a professional cricketer to UX researcher. So it's some interesting things you can also check with him personally after during the Q&A if you want to. He is going to talk to you about how to conduct research, some of the pointers there, how to plan the research. That's his objective of sharing. And I think it's quite valuable to have him here. And yeah, I would not without further ado, I will just hand it over to Chinmay. I hope you, Chinmay, you can share the screen and share your slides. It's okay to go slow because I think Sunday people are waking up a little bit and taking it easy. So feel free to take it, and it's all yours now.
Sure, thank you. So allow me 1 minute.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, so hello, good morning everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. So talking about user research, the right way to plan. So it's all about how the research has been done, how you want to achieve it, and what kind of different methods you wanted to take in, and how you are going to present the research. That is the most difficult part, what specifically you are looking into. And going through, we'll start up with the slides. So as a specific, I will quote, as Benjamin Franklin says, if you're planning and doing anything, I know, can or anything in your real life. If you're planning, you fail to plan, so you're planning to fail. So obviously, he was not talking about electricity in that specific, but that applies in our real time conversation that for any research that we do. So when it comes to UXResearch plan, what it is actually and what it specifically terms into, and it can be a document, a spreadsheet, or any slides, or you can imagine any document that can start to kick off any project or any research that you're planning. So as it cannot be a formal document or it cannot be a specific terminology that should be used. So and also it shouldn't be only in your mind or in your perspective of a single person. So that can be consisting of any ideas and milestone that comes within any accessible points that has been guided into. And when it comes to the outcome of the research, it should be guiding into reaching into a specific objective that is been set. So when we talk about a plan, and obviously we need to understand what's the benefit of it, right? And how you can plan it in a specific way, and obviously what can be beneficial from you going through it. And the first is when it comes to any kind of plan, so you can understand posting the alignment, how that can be done. And when it comes to any research, that obviously have an objective and also a timeline that can be set into, and what you're expecting from the research, which will be done in the field, and any kind of previous researches which have been done or any kind of document that we have already. So that can be taken into reference for everyone to come into the same place. And also when it comes to the research that you are planning up, so that should be beneficial and also helping you to achieve the UX goal that you have. So more often to set up a goal, a high level goal, and also it was what you have, the progress that you are making, and taking engaging your stakeholders. So it can be anyone who is taking an active part of it. That can be a product manager or any kind of designer that you're working with, or simply any business team that you're working with. So taking care of that will actually help you going through any research that you'll be coming up with. So they can obviously be an active participant in that, unless and just in the big black seat and just look into the research. So that will help you in the longer run to come up with what the objective of the research is. So obviously, when it comes to create a research plan, so this is not a specific way to follow, but you can have your own plan also. But here we can talk about the steps that can be taken into. So at the first, why you're doing a research to try to understand specific thing. So it can be a behavioral attitude or maybe attitudinal problem that can be coming up to, right? So first is to trying to understand the problem which is being raised and why you are doing the research. So once the problem statement is clear and which is being taken care into, then we can go ahead and identify our objectives, which has been looking into. So what we are looking into and what the outcomes that can be, come out of the research. So more often when I talk about any identifying different objectives, so closely taking up the step of research and also the business alignment that we have and the business need we're specifically talking about. Uh, then we come to different research methods which is can be taken care of. And there are obviously many different research methods, which can be qualitative research, a quantitative research, which also can include one-on-one personal interviews that we can take up, or maybe you can roll out any kind of surveys that can be guided to the participants, right? So actively choosing the method which is can be helping you in the research. And so obviously a different subject to discuss on, but obviously we'll try to figure out how things can be done. So when specifically talking about any behavioral or attitudinal research that you can focus on, so alongside the problem statement that we have. So on basis of that, we can obviously come out with a research method that can be taken care of, right? So it can be more of a qualitative and quantitative, as I spoke on. So when it comes to coming out to an
I'm sorry, Chinmay, we lost your voice. Do you want to
can you
check?
hear me now?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
great. Yeah. So where we was, I think you're in recruiting participants and how things can be. So the target audience more specifically, right? So the research is more specifically targeting your user, or so trying to recruit the different participants who are you trying to excuse me, trying to complete it and also understand what they are coming out into, and obviously the problem statement they are facing or maybe occurring in the specific terminology. So it's a very important part of the research, trying to recruit the active participant in the target audience of which you are more specifically talking about. That will help you going out to do a research and also plan the research accordingly. For example, any design process that we are looking into, or any kind of specific generative research or methodologies that we are taking up. So into that, we can actively take a participants and a target audience, which is done. And next part comes out to preparing a brief. So it can be a research design that you're more specifically looking into. What kind of questions that can be involved, what kind of methodologies or any kind of so brief also includes your research teams, so how that moderation will be done and how things will be going up. And so it just kind of step to step design flow of how the research will be conducted. And also coming out to establishing timeline is very important. So any plan of research that we are doing, and also we should have a specific timeline to that, and also designing the research and the specific timeline that we have, and dividing different step by step of the research into different timelines will help you to understand, achieve, and also present your goals that you can be coming out of the UX research. And also the last part is to present your findings. So doing a research, and also if you're not able to present what your finding is, so there is no use of doing the research. Right? So coming out and presenting the specific objective that you have come across after the research will help you and try to understand what kind of proceedings that can be. So it can be a PPT that excuse me. So it can be a PPT that you're presenting into, and how you're like coming out with a story that can be flow of the research and any kind of finding that came out. So presenting a research finding and kind of a story, so that will help you and also help the stakeholders and any kind of participant that are coming out to be. So presenting it as a kind of a story will also help you and also help the stakeholder understand what kind of objective and also finding that we have. So also determining different kind of timeline that you have gone through, and different findings that is proceeding in the specific research that will come out to be. Hmm. So now what I call in my specific category is 4W and 1H rule. So what it specifically means. So what is like what kind of research questions that you are coming out to be, and also the goals that you have and try to achieve through the research. Then we consider about why. So why is more specifically about the business goal that you have. So obviously we are doing a research to understand the specific business need or maybe specific business obstacle that we have. So try to come into a seat of a stakeholder that you are working with and try to understand in that their perspective how the research will obviously help the business to grow. And Next is how, and how as we spoke about different methodologies. So to come up with explain different approach that we can take, that can be interview and kind of qualitative and quantitative, that can be in a specific way. And also when it comes to who, and who will be the participants. So this is a very crucial part of the research. So when you can specifically look into the target audience, which has been specifically taken care of, and obviously when you're trying to research and a specific audience, and also it can be your audience which has been directly associated with the product or indirectly also, so that can be taken care of, right? And the last one on the list is when and where. So the research schedule and the logistics. So the very crucial part of the research. Obviously, on the normal time we do skip it, thinking out. Okay, that can be fall into place, but it's very boring to think about. But it's a very important thing to come across. So never forget your logistic and also tools that will be needed, and also maybe the budget that can be discussed, and the different role your team members will be playing throughout the research. And obviously, when it comes to any kind of research, please schedule it in your perspective and how timelines allow you. So dividing the research into different part, like maybe moderation, or interviews, analysis of it, and how you will be presenting the specific. And taking care of all this will help you uh, grow your research career and also help research specifically. So lastly, I will talk about empathy. Why I'm talking about this is being a researcher, trying to understand people and also see their problem. It's just not asking people what they're feeling and just coming across what they are trying to say. So more often we try to be in the seat of the user and try to understand what they are feeling about the product, or maybe facing a real problem, and taking into personal experience that actually helps you to understand and also just not to hypothetically think about what the user might think or may be thinking of. So this actually helps the designer and also the researcher to come up across different products and ideas that can be beneficial for the design and also the business perspective of any company or any organization that we are talking about. So yeah, that will be all from my end. And thanking you and also you some opportunity, and I'm happy to take in questions that you guys may be having. So feel free to ask me.
Even while the questions are coming in, Chinmay, thanks for taking us through this important topic in a nutshell. I think it's very valuable. Um, I would like to personally check also with you on some of these, especially the 4W1H rule. Can you share some of your experiences with it, and how did you come about it? We would like to know a bit of story there.
Okay. So when we talk about 4W1H rule, so more often it's kind of coming out from my perspective. So what, why, who, and how, where, and when. So this is more specifically not only into research, it actually also applies in normal life that we go around, right? So if we're coming out to any new problem, any new ideas that has been looking out to be, right? And what we are looking into, why we're looking into, and when and where we're looking into. So maybe more often when it comes to the research perspective. So I came across this rule, which I do apply in my different research to try to understand when we was taking care of daily studies which were been planned in India. So more into taking care of the diary study. So what I specifically talk about diary studies, let me introduce what diary study is. So we try to understand the research of the participant and try to understand to being into that their perspective, or maybe their um, into their home, into their shops, or maybe their offices, whatever they are comfortable into, and just to observe silently to understand what they are doing, what how they are reacting, how their behavior is, or maybe their attitude is to maybe specific thing they do in the day-to-day life. to understand how they are coming from and which perspective they are looking at. So in that, when it comes to understand in specific way how user reacts and also how they come across different problems they face in their lifestyle. So here, coming out, why I'm talking about this rule is as being specific on a researcher, try to understand. So it shouldn't be only an objective of the problem that you're looking into, right? And also solving the problem, and also it should be a all-round across thing that can be looked into. And a single lead can also lead you to different goals of your research. And as I spoke about scheduling a research, dividing into different parts, and also taking help of your different teammates. So here also we can but like divide the research into different perspectives. That can be also the 7 rules that I've talked about, and also that can be divided into different 4WH1 rule. So what we are looking into, why you are looking into, and how and when and where. So and also who we are mostly looking into, and then that can be engaged or more specifically researched about. So when it comes to the research and why I came across this rule is that actually helped me in a different way, the research we have conducted, and rationalizing this thing into different part, and also channelizing the research that we are doing in this specific way that will help you for like why we are taking up the goals, and what are the problems that you're looking into, and more talking about when and where, the logistic part, why I come up with when and where, and so scheduling the research. So many of the time in the ground level, we think things will be going in our way. Some of the time, the participants back out, and then there can be any kind of blockers that we are facing. So planning that when and where you want to understand the users, and also taking any interviews or any kind of logistic requirement that will be holding. So if you're scheduling in and planning it with your team and as a specific manner, that will obviously help you and also ease your research findings, and also the proceeding that will be having. So yeah, hope I answer your question.
Yeah, very much. I think that's actually very helpful, because it's always good to know a bit of story behind what you have done, and I think it's quite valuable to hear that out. Um, like how what do you, like another thing that is being asked is that how much percentage of of the actual research that you do, um, or how can you reduce the time required for logistics in your practice? How do you manage that?
So, as I spoke about planning the research, right? So, when you are coming up with a problem statement from any of your stakeholders and try to understand what the problem is, and also coming up with the objective. So, you do have your timeline set, obviously, from your stakeholders and also maybe the team you're working with. And initially, if you're planning the research in a specific way, and also determining what kind of methodologies that you'll be taking care of. So if obviously it's a one-on-one interview, you wanted to go to different geographic of like users are based on. So you will be needing a different timelines, and also setting up the timeline with the different stakeholders is very much of a requirement, or maybe important in your research plan, because obviously business owners or maybe those stakeholders will be hurrying up to try to understand what the problem is, and also what we can go ahead and plan the solution that can be leading to. So taking care of that timeline is very important. So finalizing that, how the research will be flowing up. So if it's a qualitative or quantitative, you are trying to go ahead and go through any different kind of surveys that will be leading up to, right? Which can be helping you in a qualitative or maybe a qualitative manner. So at the first place, when you're trying to plan any research, and also you have a specific plan. So also including the logistic part in that will be challenging, and also easing your research journey, and taking care of any dates that you have, and specifically looking into different dates that can be maybe planning a research, maybe 1 to 2 days, or maybe when it comes to the research participants and also interviewing different users, that can be done maybe in a week. I'm just talking about an example. So this can be varying with the different problem statement that we have, and also the research method that will be taking off. So when you channelize different processes through the research into specific timeline that you have, so that will help you also channelize the logistic. And also more often when we talk about business perspective, we do have um, monetary funds that actually you need for your research. So like finalizing that in our first place also will be helping you, because we cannot go and ask the stakeholders in the middle of a research that we are doing, that we need to come across different target groups that we are into, and we want to expand our users. So finalizing that will help you to come across scheduling different part of the research, and going ahead in the research journey that will be there. So yeah.
Okay, I think we are waiting for some more questions to collect, and then I can ask. Meanwhile, I think we also see that you have issue with your throat a little bit, Chinmay. So, I mean, I really feel a little bit sorry for that. But the webinar was already scheduled, so I could not really change it. But thanks a lot, and we would like to wrap this up as fast as we can. Meanwhile, there's a question like how much of your research planning and execution time is on an average spent in logistics?
Okay, so when it comes to logistic part, that actually depends upon what kind of methods that you're looking at, right? And different research perspective that goes on, and also the problem statement that you're looking at. So it's not a vast amount of time that has been spent for logistic, but also it's a crucial time. So when it comes to any kind of percentage that we are looking into, maybe 10% of the time will obviously go for the logistic, and also the planning and executing the specific logistic that you're looking into. So yeah, you can come across at least and should be giving up your time into logistic, because and also planning the logistic, maybe recruiting different people, that will obviously take time, and reaching out to them, and that can obviously lead into. So planning and scheduling that will help you, and reach your timeline in a specific manner. So yeah, I hope you're answering. Listen.
Yeah, I mean that definitely helps. Just a follow-up question from me, that how how much of the time, let's say, if you spend in recruitment, if you take an example of very special categories of users, for example, if I recount your experience, I saw you were working for agriculture firm. I do not know the details of the company because I don't know that company well. But if you want to talk about it, like if you face any kind of difficulties, because that seems to be a very niche audience.
Sure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Guru. So as you spoke about agriculture, so I was part of Yara International. So these guys were more into agricultural products, which can be targeted maybe fertilizers and different kind of agriculture needs that like farmers will be having. And also, as we are living in the digital space and digital world, so they also have different apps that helps the users to channelize their different studies, and also weather apps. So it can be also any kind of problem, any crop emergency that they have. So the research, talking about the research about in agriculture field, and we know when it comes to more often 90% of the farmers, that can be in India and also in other countries beyond. So they are not very much tech savvy people who can be using different kind of laptop, maybe technologies, laptop, mobile phones, and more often they use feature phones to take care of the day-to-day lives. So reaching out to these guys were obviously a tough task, and recruiting them and try to make them understand that we are here to help and try to understand their problem, and which will obviously lead them and also help them longer. So more often this agriculture and also the farming people are into a specific way that they have their retailers, or maybe when they are getting their farming needs, they trust there, and also maybe the group they are a part of, maybe a farmer group, or maybe any kind of government agencies, or maybe technologies that they are using into, so they are familiar with that. So when looking into this kind of not tech savvy people and try to understand their problem, it's also a big challenge. And recruiting this kind of people obviously can lead into exceed your timelines, because many of them are obviously busy with their day-to-day life, with the farming and different needs that they have. And obviously the, as I spoke about crop emergency, so they mostly try to approach any retailers or any kind of agencies they are part of. So they will not freely talk about their problems in front of you. So understanding that and taking care of empathy of that user will obviously help you in that. I mean, that can be in an agriculture field, obviously also that you're taking care of any non-tech savvy people or any kind of audience that you're targeting into. So yeah.
Okay, I think thanks a lot for clarifying it. There is one more question that had come by, like it is more related to your sports career. So the question is like, what kind of research you would think is most needed for example, for the game of cricket in India? What are your views on that? It's quite a juicy questions for Indians, especially I think on those cricket playing nations. So I think your answer would be very helpful because you have been a professional cricketer.
So I will try to reframe the question like research into specifically into cricket, or how it will play, or how, like, if you can reframe the question, I couldn't get it.
Yeah, here it reads cricket, the game of cricket directly.
Okay, can I look into the question? Like,
Yeah, the question says like, in the game of cricket, which are the areas you see user research being needed?
okay, okay. So there can be a lot of area that can be done. So a user, well, like first we want to understand who are a user of a cricket, right? So it can be the audience who are looking into the players who are playing the games, so different equipments they are using, and also when it comes to the broadcasting team, so they are broadcasting what we are playing into live cricket, right? So there can be different aspect of research that can be done. So here I will try to understand and specifically talk about a single thing, more of an Indian perspective. So many of the spectators that they come across and also to the stadiums to watch the live cricket that we play around. So what I've seen and also have faced many of the time. So the user experience in the stadium is not up to the mark in Indian style. So they face different kind of problems. So it's maybe, uh, and obviously we have different galleries where we can look into, right? So we'll take an example of Pune Stadium, which has been a 360 view of the stadium. So whichever part of the stadium you sit, you get a equal view of the game being played. So obviously it cannot be implemented in all the stadiums that we are coming across. So what kind of arrangement that can be made so they get a equal viewership of the game that they are coming out to look into. And obviously when you're broadcasting the same game and sitting at home, how that can be interactive for the audience. Like if I take an example of Hotstar, the Star app that the people do watch at home. So they have a interactive live chat that been introduced, and taking care of how people are engaging. When I talking about IPL, they do take sides of their different teams. So engaging people into different type of like activities that can be done. And also when it comes to live cricket, they are visiting the stadium, how that can be necessarily channelized into active participation and also a good viewership that can be coming into. So yeah, that can be researched upon, and how we can like ease their flow of watching a cricket team and to live cricket stadium. So yeah, I think that can be challenging.
Thanks for clarifying. Personally, the questions that have been in my mind always is like the entry and exit also into the stadium is quite an issue as well. So probably that's an area which also is related to experience, and I think it applies to most games. I mean, the entry and exit are always messy, and that's where I think also some experience issue comes in. But that aside, there's another question here out of few. This one says that what would be the best way to keep research not derailing from its main cause, especially when you are working in a multidisciplinary team?
Sure. So when it comes to any kind of problem statement that is associated with research, right? As we spoke about, try to understand the problem at first, what is causing that, and obviously it's not only one people game when we talk about research. So taking care of different teams that you're part of, like it may be a design team or maybe product team, and different type of team that you associate with. And that can be a not only single stakeholder, that can be multiple stakeholders that are part of the research. So when your objectives are clear and the timelines are into this, right? And obviously, throughout the research process, it's not really a one-man game. So you try to communicate with the team and also put them into your seat, and also try to understand from their perspective too. So that will reduce the gap between a researcher and also maybe the teams that you multiple discipline team that we are part of. So updating them of what the research is going into, and what kind of findings that are coming up, and any kind of refinement that can be needed, which has been coming out from different teams. Uh, so that active participation will obviously not derail your research, and also obviously help you on a longer run, and also to achieve your timeline, and also achieve your goal that you have, the research goal. So not to separate from them and do your own research by your way. I will obviously guide you to, and also appeal that you can take them into your team and try to communicate with them in an active manner. So they will help you on obviously research perspective. So more of them, people think obviously we do have a problem, our objective is set from the stakeholders. We'll do your research and obviously present that. So that is not the case. The research is not only a task which is being should be fulfilled. So taking it to a team level, obviously the problem is from a product or maybe any kind of problems related. So if you're taking care of that, that will obviously not be derailing in a specific manner. So hope I answered your question.
So if I summarize what you said, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said that one of the ways to take the rest of the team into confidence,
Yes.
make them partially the owner of this research as well, and probably clarify to them why you are doing this research. It's not because you are a user researcher, but because there is certain benefit to the business that your work brings, and
Obviously.
probably remind them of this all the time, that why you are doing this and what are the benefits coming out of it. Have I missed out any point in this summary?
No, no. You're up to your.
Okay. Okay. I think we are looking at your throat condition. I think we could stop here. Do you have any other advice for let's say younger researchers who are new into the trade? And when I say young, I mean those who are especially new and they're still learning the various methodologies and trying out getting their hands dirty. What is your advice to such researchers?
Sure. So when it comes to UX research, so more specifically when I'm talking my perspective, what I have come across. So now things are like you have to go and do specific methodologies for specific research, and it's more about how you feel about the problem and how you feel about the research and also about the users. So don't try to channelize that and do it in a like falling into in a more professional way. Obviously, you try to learn every step of the research, and when you're part of any team or maybe a lead that you're working under. So don't try to grasp everything at once. So because as research also is a very slow moving thing, so you don't get everything in a day. So take your time and try to learn things. And when it comes to different methodologies, obviously methodologies will be not here for forever. There will be new methodologies that will coming up. There will be older methodologies that can be also be helpful you. So as we are here in the digital space, we are doing interviews one-on-one, right? But let's think about 20 years back, doing a video interview was obviously a daunting task. So try to learn new things every day and take your own time, own pace. And if you're feeling like left out, try to get help. You have different like sources that can be available for you for research. There are many platforms that will be helping you. And take your own pace and own perspective for every research that you are part of. It can be a smaller to smaller thing. Maybe analyzing the research, at least you take your own perspective first. So this is what I'll be advising the newcomers or maybe the first timers of the research so we are planning into. So obviously the hurdles will coming up and there will be different parts and parcel of the game which we will be talking out. But stick to your instinct and that will be helping you in a long run. So yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chinmay. I think the findings, personally, I found them useful, and we will get in touch with you because we have been keeping this webinar session like every month. Next month there is a webinar session with somebody who's found UX Hong Kong. So somebody will be joining us from there. So you are also invited to join us for that webinar. And as a token of appreciation, we will be sending you a small gift. Please accept it as a token of love and sharing that you have done from our side. And on behalf of UXArmy team, I want to thank you and also thanks the audience who have joined. I could not take all the questions, but some of the questions we will be answering via email. So do expect some of the emails to come your way, Chinmay. And yeah, I really wish you get well very soon, fully recover, and then we will be in touch. Thanks again, and yeah, have a blessed Sunday, everyone. See you.
See you.
Thanks. Bye bye.